Hello everybody, this is Gail from Burger Sewing and Vacuum, and I was going to talk today about the non-slip Scrap Crazy 8 rulers, and these are great rulers. There's just 3 little rulers in there. If you can see them, they're kind of hard to see, but they are great rulers, and you can make up a really fun quilt. And you can see they show a picture of it. Actually, it's hard to see on the camera. This is probably easier to see, that you can make up a really cute quilt. And this is one that I made up just using half of a layer cake. And you can see that it's really fun. It's very scrappy. And even though I used a layer cake, you could use just all your different scraps to make this really fun quilt. And then when I did my quilting of it, I did triangles to kind of mimic all the triangles in here. So that is my sample of that. I was going to talk about this. So these are great rulers. I just love them, especially if you're trying to use up all your scraps. And they give you some great directions on how you can cut them up, because you use the A template is the entire thing. The B template is from right there up. And then you have your C and your D, and they even show you on the rulers where they are in the block, so you can use those. The thing that I also like about this is that you can use this to with a layer cake. So I was just going to show you what you would do is, if you did have your layer cake, you're going to, on one side you're going to have your B and one of the C's, and the other side you have your D, and then you'll have your C down here, because you have to have 2 C's. Every block has 2 C's, and then your whole A template. So what I do is I take this and I line this up, and you know, if you have the ones that were machine cut, they have the little pinking side, and I like to cut that off. So I usually do that, and this, it's kind of hard to see because of the ruler, but you're going to cut right along this line. So I'll do a cut right like that, and then I can flip this over, and then you do the other side. And I always make sure that I have enough room, and you will have enough room. And I usually trim off that side also. Trim off your little pinking area, and that way I can line this one up right along that cut line. And I have this one, I can line these right up along the cut that I just made, and then cut these out, and it works really well. And I also love this. This is just a Fisker's turning cutting table, because I don't like to move my fabric. If I start moving my fabric, especially, let's say I had 2 or 3 layers of my layer cake on there. If I move them, they may shift. So this way I can put my templates on there, I can move these aside, I can cut it out, pull that one aside, move this, put this on there, cut it out, and I don't have to stand on my head or do something crazy. I just have to turn my little table. You can also use just a small cutting mat. You may have just a smaller cutting mat that you can actually pick up and move the whole cutting mat. So that works well. So I was going to talk a little bit about some of the fun things you can do with this. And as you saw, my big one, my bigger quilt I should say, it's not a huge quilt, but this one, and I just blew pieces everywhere, they're all different. So what was fun is that when I did the layer cake, you have each one of the pieces, you're going to have each piece to this little square there. So I'm going to have one, I'll have 2 of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, and one of these. So that makes it fun, and then you can just play around with them and mix and match and decide where do you want all your different pieces to come up with this very fun quilt. And when you cut them out, they do have, one of their designs that they have on there that you can do. And mine, I did wind up doing it their way, but you can do things differently. And this is, once again, so here is what this looks like. And it's hard to tell on this one, my big one, if I pull it back in, that I have kind of a pinwheel going on here, but because they're all different fabrics, you really can't see that. But what if we were to use just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabrics? Then you can put them together, something like this, And now I can really see my pinwheel. So now I have this big pinwheel, and then as I add it on, I'm going to get this other pinwheel. Let me pull this away so you can see. Oh, I make sure I'm in the camera here. And this one, if you do the other one, you're going to have this kind of the two big ones and the two little pinwheels, and it's going to keep building out like that. And the thing that I really like about these rulers is that if you put them together however you want to, I don't have to worry about lining up seams on the sides. I only have to line up the one in the middle, and I think that's really nice, because if I have to put all these squares together, and if I had to go and line up all kinds of sides all the time, you know, all kinds of different seams, kind of going to drive me crazy, because I like mine to be as perfect as possible. So this is really fun. But, you know, they want you to cut them all out with all the fabric facing up. But what if I wanted to do some mirrors of that? Because, you know, I like to mess around with things. So these are two mirrored blocks. And if I take this out, and believe it or not, I ran out of my yellow. So pretend that's a yellow one. And you can put them together in different ways, because now that I have the mirrored ones, and yes, I would have to match these other seams here and here, but I could get this kind of bow tie or spool look there, and bigger blocks of color. I could also just, you know, turn things around and get things to look totally different, because I have these mirrored blocks in there. I could even put them together and do something, you know, like this, and have a big block of color here and a smaller block of color there, but once again having to line up all my different seams, which I'm not thrilled with that one. But you can get all kinds of different looks like that. I could even put these together like this and have a long piece, and then have it together like this. So I have the short little pieces. So now I have these straight, these coming out, these straight, these coming out. So this would be a totally different look too. Or you could have your little ones coming in, and now you have kind of a T shape. And you can play around with it and do all kinds of fun things with it. So that's just a couple things that you can do with this non-slip, and they are really non-slip, which is nice. Scrap Crazy 8, great way to use up your stash. A lot of fun with layer cakes, and you can do all kinds of fun things with it. So, and I would love to see, for those of you that do use this and you come up with some wonderful fun things to do, we would love to see your quilts. You can bring them down or send us some pictures. We would love to see them. So until next time, happy quilting.